You may not consume alcohol within. Fill in the blank. Of going on duty. A. 1 hour. B. 2 hours. C. 4 hours. C. 4 hours. Commercial vehicle drivers are prohibited from consuming any intoxicating beverage, regardless of its alcohol content, within 4 hours of going on duty. A tread depth of. Fill in the blank. Should be in every major groove of a tire that is not in the front of a commercial motor vehicle. A. 1/32 of an inch. B. 2/32 of an inch. C. 4/32 of an inch. B. 2/32 of an inch. For safe operation, a commercial motor vehicle needs a tread depth of 4/32 of an inch in every major groove on the front tires, and a tread depth of 2/32 of an inch on other tires. Why do large vehicles use air brakes? A. Other brake systems squeak too loudly. B. Air brakes are very effective systems. C. Other braking systems are hard to come by. B. Air brakes are very effective systems. If used and maintained properly, air brakes are a safe and effective way to stop large, heavy vehicles. When backing with a trailer, you should begin by A. Turning the steering wheel in the direction of the turn. B. Turning the steering wheel in the direction opposite of the turn. C. Turning the wheel as sharply as possible. B. Turning the steering wheel in the direction opposite of the turn. When backing with a trailer, begin by turning the steering wheel in the direction opposite of the turn. Once the trailer starts to turn, reverse the direction of the steering wheel to follow the trailer. While driving downhill, you should brake until you reach a speed that is. Fill in the blank. Below your safe speed, then release the brake pedal. A. 5 miles per hour. B. 10 miles per hour. C. 15 miles per hour. A. 5 miles per hour. While driving downhill, you should hold down the brake pedal until your vehicle reaches a speed 5 miles per hour below your safe speed, then release the brake pedal. Repeat this process. When backing with a trailer. A. You should not back up in a straight line. B. You should not correct drift until you are far off course. C. You should frequently pull forward to reposition the vehicle. C. You should frequently pull forward to reposition the vehicle. When backing, you should pull forward to reposition your vehicle whenever needed. Drift should be corrected immediately by turning the steering wheel in the direction of the drift. If involved in an accident, which of the following is not recommended? A. Trying to move your vehicle to the side of the road. B. Caring for the injured. C. Driving away from the scene. C. Driving away from the scene. When involved in an accident, you should protect the area, notify authorities, care for the injured, collect required information, and report the accident. You can lose your license for leaving the scene of an accident. When leaving your vehicle. A. The air brakes should be applied. B. The parking brake should be applied. C. Brakes should not be applied if the vehicle is left out of gear. B. The parking brake should be applied. Parking brakes should be used whenever you park. If necessary, chock your wheels. When backing up, follow a turning trailer by A. Changing nothing. The vehicle will naturally follow the trailer. B. Changing the direction of the steering wheel. C. Turning the steering wheel even harder in the direction that it is already turning. B. Changing the direction of the steering wheel. When backing with a trailer, begin by turning the steering wheel in the direction opposite of the turn. Once the trailer starts to turn, reverse the direction of the steering wheel to follow the trailer. By beginning a left turn before reaching the center of an intersection, you A. will likely complete the turn satisfactorily. B. may hit other vehicles with the left side of your vehicle. C. can expect other drivers to move their vehicles to accommodate your turn. B. may hit other vehicles with the left side of your vehicle. When planning to turn left at an intersection, make sure you have reached the center of the intersection before beginning the turn. If you turn too soon, off-tracking may cause the left side of your vehicle to hit another vehicle. Cargo with a high center of gravity? A. can make a vehicle likely to tip over. B. is encouraged in inclement weather. C. is required on some roads. A. can make a vehicle likely to tip over. Cargo with a high center of gravity makes a vehicle more likely to tip over than cargo with a low center of gravity. For this reason, it is important that the weight of cargo be distributed as low as possible. If a tire fails, you should A. use the brakes. B. stay off the brakes. C. swerve. B. stay off the brakes. Braking after a tire fails can result in a loss of control. Stay off your brakes, if possible, until your vehicle has slowed considerably. When driving in winter, which of the following should receive extra attention in a pre-trip inspection? A. coolant and antifreeze levels. B. the air conditioning unit. C. the oil pressure. A. coolant and antifreeze levels. When doing a pre-trip inspection during the winter, you should pay extra attention to the coolant level and amount of antifreeze, the defrosting and heating equipment, the wiper blades and windshield washer, the tires and tire chains, the lights and reflectors, the windows and mirrors, the handholds, steps, and deck plates, the radiator shuttles and winterfront, and exhaust system. When braking with ABS, you should A. pump the brake pedal. B. brake normally. C. brake harder than you would with a different braking system. B. brake normally. When braking a vehicle equipped with an anti-lock braking system ABS, you should not brake any differently than you would if driving a vehicle with a different braking system. A truck tractor built after March 1, 1997 must be equipped with A. an anti-lock braking system ABS. B. a flag. C. hydraulic brakes. A. an anti-lock braking system ABS. Truck tractors with air brakes built on or after March 1, 1997 are required to be equipped with anti-lock braking systems ABS. A pre-trip inspection should include A. a check of the engine oil level. B. removing coolant. C. washing the tire rims. A. a check of the engine oil level. When examining the engine compartment during a pre-trip inspection, you should check the engine oil level, the radiator coolant level, and the condition of the hoses. Rough acceleration? A. is a good way to stay awake on long trips. B. is distracting. C. can cause mechanical damage. C. can cause mechanical damage. Rough acceleration can cause mechanical damage, so be sure to accelerate smoothly and gradually. If you are being tailgated while driving a large vehicle, do all of the following, except A. Reduce your speed gradually. B. Increase your following distance. C. Increase your speed. C. Increase your speed. If you find yourself being tailgated by another driver, you should increase your following distance and avoid making quick moves. Increasing your speed may only result in the other driver continuing to tailgate you at a higher speed. Do not turn on your tail lights or flash your brake lights at the other driver. If an unusual noise or feeling occurs in a vehicle while it is being driven, the driver should A. Assume it is not a concern and continue driving. B. Hope the vehicle does all right until it is switched to another driver. C. Check the situation to determine the proper solution. C. Check the situation to determine the proper solution. If you see, hear, smell, or feel anything while driving that does not feel right, you should have it checked out. When driving, you should stop every fill in the blank to take a break to avoid becoming too tired. A. Half hour. B. 2 hours. C. 6 hours. B. 2 hours. To reduce the risk of becoming fatigued on a long trip, you should stop to take a break at least once for every 2 hours or 100 miles driven. If asked by a law enforcement officer to take a test to determine your blood alcohol concentration, BAC? A. You can refuse to take the test without a penalty. B. You can refuse taking the test but will be required to pay a $50 fine. C. You will lose your CDL if you refuse to take the test. C. You will lose your CDL if you refuse to take the test. Most states have an implied consent law, which means that by driving a vehicle on the state's roads, you have agreed to undergo a drug or alcohol test if a police officer asks you to do so. If you refuse to submit to a test, you will lose your operating privileges. Make sure you are aware of the laws for every state in which you drive. Pre-trip inspections are A. Recommended. B. Needed only for trips longer than 100 miles in length. C. Required by law. C. Required by law. Federal and state laws require drivers to inspect their vehicles before every trip, regardless of length. Which of the following is the best advice for driving in fog? A. Try not to drive in fog. B. Use your high beam headlights. C. Turn off your lights. A. Try not to drive in fog. Driving in fog is always dangerous and should be avoided entirely if at all possible. If you must drive in fog, be sure to turn on your low beam headlights and fog lights, even during the daytime. If you realize you may be running late to your destination, you should A. Speed up. B. Get upset. C. Deal with it and drive at a safe speed. C. Deal with it and drive at a safe speed. To reduce the risk of developing aggressive driving behavior, you should take measures to manage your stress. One strategy to do this is to simply take a deep breath and accept your circumstances if you realize you will be late to your destination. In hot weather, spots on the pavement where tar is bleeding A. Are very slippery. B. Offer the same amount of traction as the rest of the roadway. C. Offer more traction than the rest of the roadway. A. Are very slippery. Tar in road pavement often rises to the surface of the road, or bleeds, in very hot weather. Watch for such areas because they can be very slippery. If driving on a surface with poor traction, a driver should accelerate slowly? A. Because it is always good to accelerate slowly. B. To keep from losing control of the vehicle. C. So that they do not accelerate faster than the vehicle ahead. B. To keep from losing control of the vehicle. To avoid a loss of control, you should accelerate slowly when driving in poor traction conditions, such as rain or snow. An individual vehicle distance record (IVDR) does not need to include which of the following? A. The dates of a trip. B. The total distance traveled. C. The number of vehicles passed. C. The number of vehicles passed. An individual vehicle distance record (IVDR) must include information about the distance traveled by a vehicle and the amount of fuel purchased. The required distance information includes the dates of a trip and the total distance traveled by the vehicle. When trying to put out an electrical fire, you should A. Use water. B. Use a B/C extinguisher. C. Use an X extinguisher. B. Use a B/C extinguisher. B/C fire extinguishers are designed to work on electrical fires and burning liquids. Don't pour water on an electrical fire. Wheels with welding repairs are A. Safe to be used if the repairs were done by a professional. B. Safe to be used if the repair seems solid. C. Not safe to be used. C. Not safe to be used. Wheels or rims that have had welding repairs are not safe for use. They should be replaced before the vehicle is taken on the road. A poor balance of weight in a trailer? A. Can make handling unsafe. B. Improves traction. C. Increases fuel efficiency. A. Can make handling unsafe. Poorly balanced weight in a trailer can make handling unsafe. For example, either too little or too much weight on the front axle can make a vehicle difficult to steer. Weight should be distributed evenly from front to back and from side to side. It should be distributed as low as possible. What is a tire load? A. The minimum safe weight a tire can carry. B. The maximum safe weight a tire can carry. C. The weight of a tire. B. The maximum safe weight a tire can carry. Tire load is defined as the maximum safe weight that a tire can carry at a specified pressure. Cargo being transported should be checked. A. Only before the trip. B. Before the trip and again within the first 50 miles of the trip. C. Only by the loading personnel. B. Before the trip and again within the first 50 miles of the trip. Cargo should be inspected before beginning a trip, within the first 50 miles of the trip, and every 3 hours or 150 miles traveled thereafter. Cargo should be inspected every time the driver stops to take a break. The driver of a truck transporting cargo is responsible for the cargo being safely secured throughout the trip. If driving through flowing water or a large puddle, you should A. Increase your speed. B. Gently apply the brakes. C. Try to stop in the water. B. Gently apply the brakes. It is best to avoid driving through large puddles or moving water. If there is no way to avoid driving through water, you should slow down, shift into a low gear, and gently apply the brakes. Pressing linings against the brake drums or discs will keep water, mud, silt, and sand from getting inside the brake mechanisms. When operating a vehicle with a dual-air brake system, the driver should A. Let the vehicle warm up before driving to ensure that the fuel reaches the engine. B. Let the air compressor build up a minimum of 100 psi pressure in the primary and secondary systems before driving. C. Begin driving just after the vehicle starts. B. Let the air compressor build up a minimum of 100 psi pressure in the primary and secondary systems before driving. Before driving a vehicle with a dual-air brake system, allow time for the air compressor to build up a minimum of 100 psi pressure in both the primary and secondary systems. Watch the air pressure gauges to monitor the pressure levels. When exiting a vehicle, it is important to maintain fill in the blank with your vehicle at all times. A. 3 points of contact. B. 4 points of contact. C. 2 points of contact. A. 3 points of contact. As you exit your vehicle during the basic vehicle control skills test, you must face the vehicle and maintain 3 points of contact at all times. If your testing vehicle is a bus, you must maintain contact with the handrail. Exiting the vehicle incorrectly may result in automatic failure of the basic control skills test. To ensure normal stopping power, drivers of vehicles equipped with a front brake limiting valve should A. Set the control to normal. B. Set the control to the off position. C. Set the control to the neutral position. A. Set the control to normal. Some older vehicles have front brake limiting valves with normal and slippery settings. Setting a brake limiting valve to slippery reduces the vehicle's stopping power, so a driver should make sure the valve is in its normal position. Front wheel braking has proven to be effective in all driving conditions. When driving on a long downhill slope, you should brake by A. Only using the brakes. B. Mostly using the brakes and occasionally downshifting. C. Downshifting and then using the brakes. C. Downshifting and then using the brakes. When approaching a long downgrade, you should shift into a lower gear, then use proper braking techniques. Using the brakes alone could cause them to overheat and fail. The braking power of the engine, which is maximized by being in a lower gear, will be the principal way of controlling your speed on a downgrade. Of the following, which is the most slippery surface? A. Ice that is dry. B. Ice that is wet. C. Wet pavement. B. Ice that is wet. Ice becomes wet when the weather is just warm enough to melt the ice slightly. Wet ice is much more slippery than ice that is not wet. Your horn should be used to A. Tell other drivers that you are angry. B. Warn other drivers that you are near. C. Frighten other drivers. B. Warn other drivers that you are near. Your vehicle's horn is a tool to warn others of your presence. Because the horn may create danger by startling other drivers, you should use it only if necessary. If confronted by an aggressive driver, you should A. Make eye contact to better communicate with them. B. Ignore their gestures. C. Not move out of their path of travel. B. Ignore their gestures. If confronted by an aggressive driver, it is most important to get out of their way, if possible. Do not make eye contact with the driver, as doing so could provoke them. Do not let them provoke you with their actions. To inspect slack adjusters on S-cam brakes, you need to A. Park on a hill and test the brakes. B. Put on gloves and push in the slack adjusters. C. Chock the wheels and disengage the parking brake. C. Chock the wheels and disengage the parking brake. Check each slack adjuster after parking on level ground, setting wheel chocks, and disengaging the parking brake. Pull the slack adjusters to make sure they do not move more than about 1 inch from where the push rod is attached. If they move more than 1 inch, they may be out of adjustment and will need to be fixed. When driving on a wet road, you should reduce your speed by A. About 1/2. B. About 1/3. C. About 1/4. B. About 1/3. Reduce your speed when traveling on surfaces that provide reduced traction. Reduce your speed by about 1/3 when driving on a wet road. Before driving a vehicle with air brakes, you should ensure that the fill in the blank come on automatically when air pressure falls below 45 psi. A. Spring brakes. B. Parking brakes. C. Air brakes. A. Spring brakes. Before driving a vehicle with air brakes, you should ensure that the spring brakes come on automatically when air tank pressure falls to a level between 20 and 45 psi. You can do this by chocking the wheels and releasing air from the braking system by stepping on and off the brake pedal. Once the pressure levels drop to an unsafe level, the parking brake valve should pop out and spring brakes should come on. When leaving a vehicle unattended, a driver should A. Always set the parking brake. B. Only set the parking brake if the vehicle is parked on a slope. C. Deflate the tires by 10%. A. Always set the parking brake. Always apply the parking brake when leaving your vehicle unattended. How should you brake if your vehicle's ABS is not working? A. Brake normally, as you will still have functioning brakes. B. Pump the brake repeatedly. C. Press the brake pedal down as hard as you can. A. Brake normally, as you will still have functioning brakes. Without a working anti-lock braking system ABS, your vehicle will still have normal brake function. Continue to drive and brake as you normally would and have your ABS serviced as soon as possible. Rust around wheel nuts may mean A. It has rained recently. B. The nuts could be loose. C. The tires should be replaced. B. The nuts could be loose. Rust around wheel nuts may mean that they are loose. Check the tightness of the nuts if you see any rust in the area. When an S-cam turns inside a brake drum, the S-cam A. Presses the brake shoes against the inside of the brake drum. B. Presses the brake shoes against the brake linings. C. Presses the brake linings against the wheel axles. A. Presses the brake shoes against the inside of the brake drum. When a brake pedal is pressed and the S-cam is turned, the S-cam presses the brake shoes against the inside of the brake drum. This causes friction and will cause the vehicle to slow. Having ABS on only one axle? A. Can be dangerous. B. Still allows you additional control when braking. C. Slows the vehicle, but cannot stop it. B. Still allows you additional control when braking. If you have an anti-lock braking system ABS equipped on only the tractor, only the trailer, or only one axle, you will still have more control over the vehicle when braking than you would without ABS. You should brake normally. If you have more than one license? A. You likely won't be caught. B. You should not tell anyone. C. You may get caught through the state's shared computer network. C. You may get caught through the state's shared computer network. All states share driver information through a computerized database in order to prevent the issuance of multiple licenses to a single person. It is prohibited for a person to have more than one driver license. A wigwag is A. A low-pressure warning device. B. A tube that carries air to the brakes. C. A type of air brake system. A. A low-pressure warning device. Vehicles with air brakes are required to be equipped with a low-pressure warning device. A wigwag is a type of low-air pressure warning device. This device drops a mechanical arm into the driver's view if the pressure in the tanks drops to a level between 55 and 75 psi.